Hmm.
And I started receiving the activations. And the first 7 activations I received were all sacred geometry activations. I didn't know there were sacred geometry activations because
Hmm.
I didn't know what sacred geometry was. But I was seeing the patterns of them. And then the guy I was staying with in London gave me the Secrets of the Flower of Life book. And I opened it up and I saw the Tree of Life. I went, oh my God, I'm doing this.
Yes.
This is what I'm doing.
Hmm.
And so I read the book and then read a second book. And, from England, this client, I sent out an email to my clients, which was my personal email. I didn't have an email list at the time. And one of my clients that I met in California, him and his wife, he goes, Tamra, I'm in London. I want a session. So I did the sacred geometry activations with him and then found out he was going to Spain. I heard God say, go to Spain.
Hmm.
Ask if you can go with him. I'm all, can I go to Spain with you? And he goes, let me call my wife. Next thing I know, I'm in Spain on top of this mountain in this incredible home. And
I
then
would
from
be
there, we're
totally
back to.
down. Spirit needs to tell me to go to Spain. Like, I am totally down to receive this message. I think that would be wonderful.
Oh my God, what a trip. And so, seriously, for 8 months, I was mostly alone,
Hmm.
which was huge because I had 2 kids. My youngest was almost 18 at that time. Same with my sister finishing up summer school. And then he came over and joined me in Italy towards the end of my trip. But a lot of the time, I was even alone in Italy by the sea, completely by myself, did not speak the English. I mean, didn't speak English, didn't speak the language. And then all these different masters were coming in and teaching me things.
Hmm.
So it was absolutely incredible. And that's when I started learning about the collective consciousness and how we're all connected. I mean, everybody says you're all one, but
Yeah. What
what
does
I've
that mean?
really learned
Hmm.
is like the collective consciousness is like a mainframe computer.
Yes.
And we are all like PCs plugged into that mainframe computer.
Hmm.
So, not all of us are running the same programs, but all the programs are all available for us to be running. And so my work unplugs people from different programs that no longer works for them because, hypnosis teaches that 94 to 99% of our lives are ran by our subconscious programming.
Hmm.
And we're only consciously creating our life about 5% of the time. So, and we're consciously creating 5% of the time. Well, if we're all one, and 95% of our lives are ran by the subconscious programming, which is
Hmm.
just old programming that came in from who knows where.
Right.
And a lot of it was from 0 to 7. A lot of it was from what everybody tells you to believe. You start downloading it when you keep hearing it over and over again. And then, so if that's true, that means there's also a subconsciousness of humanity
Hmm.
that's running humanity. So this world is running on these subconscious, outdated programs and what it's being told. And then everybody's just plugging in and running those programs.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so funny. People argue that this is not real, that collective consciousness is not a thing. But you
Oh,
look
it
at
is.
animals, there's an ingrained program inside every living being.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's silly to think that humans don't have that programming as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is so negative, unfortunately. We've learned
Most of it is.
survival skills we've got fear that runs most of our lives.
Yeah. Flight or fight.
Absolutely.
Huge. Separation.
Um, And it's,
There's huge separation programs,
yeah.
huge separation programs.
And it's funny with so many light workers coming back into this world, which are these people that have lived many, many lives. So many of them have a fear of coming out because of that programming. They've had so many negative experiences that they're scared to really come out of the closet.
Oh, yeah.
And
I had those. I
yeah.
had all of those.
So how did you get
So
through
many.
your own fear?
Pardon me?
How'd you get through your own fear of really coming out and being in the public?
My changing my subconscious programming and clearing all that out.
So these symbols that you talked about with sacred geometry, which ones were coming to you when you first started?
Well, I wasn't seeing symbols coming in. I was just running the activation or what they told me to do. And then in the energy fields, I would see the symbols in the energy field. Because just like, most people are familiar, we have a chakra system. Well, you also have the sacred geometry in your field.
Huh.
So, and like your chakra systems get off balance, right? So does your sacred geometry. So, a lot of it will be shut down and stuff because of the thoughts and the feelings, and it won't be flowing. So just by activating and reactivating and repairing your sacred geometry, your life will start running a lot easier just by doing that.
And it really is a matter of rewiring those programs. So if you're used to going from A to B in the same direction every time, all of a sudden you're telling it to go from A to C. And life will be easier if you go to A to C, but you need to reprogram that route.
Yeah.
So how does that work when you're doing this with your clients?
Well, I connect to God energy and I run the deactivation. And what it does is it starts deactivating the program. And what I mean by start, some of it's instantly, but some of it is going to continue to shift over days, weeks, even months.
Right.
Because sometimes you can't, although I've seen it happen where people are totally healed the following day, but I've also seen it where it takes weeks and months to do all those shifts because it keeps, I want to go back to the simple terms of the PC. Okay. So you have all this old, outdated software on your PC. So you're going to run a deactivation software, right? And it's going to deactivate those programs. That's what Sacred Activations does. It'll deactivate those programs and then you can activate new programs. So it's like downloading new programs into your PC. So once the program's gone, it's gone and it doesn't repeat. But again, it's going to go through your genetic line. It's going to go through your past lives and future lives, your whole timeline. And it's also going to clear you out of the collective consciousness. I mean, before Sacred Activations and the work I do now, I cleared out things for years and years through hypnosis. You name it, I tried it. You know what I mean? And the programs would still be running in the background.
Yeah.
And then they'd start reinstalling. And it's like, okay, because you think it's done. And then all of a sudden it starts coming back. And it's like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Well, with the Sacred Activations, the work I do, it clears it completely and it clears you out of the mainframe computer. And this is a story God showed me. A couple different things I'm going to share with you. Stories are easy for people to learn from.
Sure.
So if you looked at the size of a blueberry, that is unconditional love. That is abundance. That is health. That is love. And if you looked at a watermelon, fear, suffering, separation, right? You look at the energy differences. So when we start pulling out of the energy, say the watermelon size energy, right? What happens to the watermelon? It starts shrinking. The power behind it starts shrinking. And then we start plugging into the blueberry. What happens to the blueberry?
Expands.
It expands. So what happens when that energy of that love, that connection, that abundance, that health expands, isn't it easier for people to plug into it because there's more ports to plug into, right?
For sure.
But when you got the watermelon energy there, it's really hard to unplug from it because it's such a strong energy.
Right.
But with the work I do, it unplugs you from it. And then it plugs you into the other one. And then you were talking about, the neuron lines going from A to B and you want to go to C. There's an activation for that. It's called polar opposites. It actually clears the neuron lines of your creation, those thoughts that go over and over and over and over and over again. Yeah. It actually clears the neuron line. And then it starts a new path. But your neuron line was a deep path, right? Because you were running that program for how many years?
For sure.
And then so you've got to focus on creating the new neuron lines of the positive energy. So you got to dance, you got to sing, you got to get in that vibration of creation. And then the next thing you know, you'll be in that happiness and joy all the time.
Now, can you explain that as well? So one of the reasons that people have so much trouble manifesting is because they don't have that vibration. They're not in sync with that. Can you explain that to everybody a little bit?
Well, you could write down 1,000 times a day on what you want to create. But if you're not feeling it, you're not going to create it. And you're actually into yourself more harm than good. But also, if you have the subconscious programming that when mom and dad did that, this happened. Oh, I don't want that to happen to me. So I don't care how much you try to manifest. If you haven't cleared out the old software of those negative programs, you're not going to be able to do it. Or you're going to be able to do it, but you're not going to be able to maintain it because the subconscious programming is going to kick back in.
Right.
So again, the thing with the spirituality group, they're so up here and they're not here living their lives in dealing with their foundation software that they got that's outdated to really create what they want. You can't do all these high vibrational activations if you've got all these lower vibrations because you won't be able to maintain it. I was talking to somebody, she's very well known, has hundreds and hundreds of people on her webinars, and she does all these high vibrational activations. And she told me, she goes, but they can't maintain it. And this, I'm gonna go back to another story. Now, I've never taken Reiki. Okay, so, but a friend of mine is a Reiki master, and she explained this story to me, and I went, exactly. Is the founder of Reiki was really seeking to heal people. He went up, he did all this study, all this travel, went up a mountain for 30 days, fasted, whatever. He came down with this beautiful gift of healing. And a lot of people can heal from it, which is really, really cool. And he, you know, and he healed all these people in this town and he left. He came back a year later. Those people he healed were all sick again. Or a lot of them. Why? Because they didn't change the subconscious programming. And that also happened to me. I used to sell sailboats and yachts and stuff, right? That was a really fun job. And my boss was this beautiful, kind, loving man. And I had learned healing at that time. I wasn't doing what I'm doing now, but I'd learned healing and I did a healing on him. I said, can I do a healing? He goes, sure, whatever. So I did a healing on him and I kept hearing, you got to change his programming, but I didn't understand. I didn't know how. I didn't have the skills. I didn't have the understanding, but I did a healing on him. A couple of weeks later, he had gone to the doctors. He came back. He says, I no longer have congestive heart failure. And I went, whoo, you know, I was really, really excited. And then he gets involved with this crazy woman, totally in love with her. She was wild. I mean, they were in their late 60s, 70s, you know, at least. And she breaks his heart. He dies of congestive heart failure. Because we didn't clear the programming, which I heard to do, and I didn't understand.